I am just so honored to have you come on and be a part of this expression of love and unity for our young people.
It's
There's
my
going to be
pleasure.
young
I'm
people,
honored.
yeah, there's going to be young people all over the globe that are going to watch this,
Oh,
and
fantastic.
yeah, it's going to be really neat. And so I just want to officially, welcome them in terms of an introduction to someone who
Perfect.
is such a beautiful, beautiful expression of a mix of faith with intelligence and love and grace and
Oh,
womanhood and professionalism. So
oh, thank
I
you.
want to introduce Camp Elevate 2020 Unity to Dr. Caroline Leaf. You are so, so, so getting a huge treat by
Oh,
allowing her, getting a chance to hear her speak a little bit. So,
thank you.
yeah. So if you could hear claps, we would be clapping all over the place right
Oh, thank you.
now.
That's so lovely. Thank you so much. Well, I'm so honored to be with you and I
Yeah.
love what you're doing. And it's so
Thank
important.
you.
And it's so important for our youth to understand that they can manage their mind. It's not being taught enough. It's not being explained enough. It's a big contention that I have. We really need to get
Yeah.
this message out. So,
Yeah. Yeah. And so, I mean, I know we've been in communication and there are certain things that I know you are a a well of knowledge. And so, in terms of, young people, when you think of young people, you have how many children?
I have 4 children,
Four
and they're
children.
between 22 and 29.
Wow. So you're a youth pastor.
With having 4 kids, you become an experience. You learn a lot. They are my best teachers. I have learned more from them than anything. They've been
Oh,
incredible.
wow. That's
And
so
two of them
cool.
work for me now. That one that you saw just now, that's Dominique. She works for me. It's my second eldest daughter, and my eldest daughter, who's 29. She works for me as well.
I figured as much. That's amazing. Um,
Yeah.
what's been like the biggest learning? You say they've taught you a lot. How can somebody teach you? I mean, come on.
Absolutely. Well, what I've learned from, and what I do learn from the youth, and I worked when I was practicing, I practiced for 25 years. The
Yeah.
majority of my clients and patients were youth. I like to work with the 12 to sort of 25, 30 millennials. I had all ages, but because that is the age that many people don't know what to do with that age. And a lot of the therapy techniques, they would say you can't do much for people beyond a certain age, which is terrible. So I never believed that. So I would always they would send me everyone that no one else wanted to work with. They would send those cases to me, and I took them on as challenges. And I learned from in that early, but my kids were very young then, and because I've been in this game for 38 years now, doing brain
Wow.
research and practicing, and my kids were very young then, so I was learning little children things. But then from my patients and things, I learned a lot about just the wisdom that's inside of each human. Doesn't matter what age you are, your experience is so unique that there's so much you can learn from a person's experience. So I learned to listen very early on, and I learned to listen to my kids. And if you had to ask my 4 children what they've learned from me the most, what I know they'll say is that I taught them to think. Obviously, the love and all that stuff is logical, but in terms of what skill, I taught them to think things through. So, and that's something that I tell all parents of teenagers, of youth, is you have to listen. You have to listen, because it's in the listening that you'll hear the needs, and you will also learn how to not bring your experience and say, this is my experience, therefore this is how you should do it, because that's the worst approach you can use
Wow.
with anyone, especially with a 12 to 18-year-old. 12 to 18 is the most difficult cycle of the entire life cycle. 12 to 18 is the hardest time, where
Wow.
your brain is settling down and the hormones are all over the place. And so while you're in this very unsettled period, you're learning more about yourself, and you're so aware of others
Yeah.
and your impact on others, and your hormones are all over the place. So just a word can throw you. And if we need to teach that to our youth, that it's okay to be depressed, it's okay to be anxious, frustrated, irritated, even to have breakdowns. These are not scary, bad things. They are completely normal, and they're actually very useful
Wow.
because they give us a lot of information. So all of those, that message is very, very important, and that's what my kids so just to sort of circle back, what I've learned from my children is I've learned to listen, and I've learned to tune in, and I've learned to be with them and hear their need, and they tell me things that I would have seen in a different way, and that's where I learn from them, and that's been very useful. So that's a huge thing. And they did a very interesting study where they took children from the sort of 12 to, I think it was 12 to 20-year olds. And they asked them and it was a massive, massive, what we call a meta-analysis, a massive, massive study, not a meta-analysis, in different cultures, different countries. And they asked the students, these teenagers, what is the most important thing that you need from your parents? Obviously love, but in terms of like just your development and what do you need? And you know what they said, Chad? They said to be listened to.
Wow.
And that's something that is really a problem where I don't know what happens to adults when they have kids, but they get to a stage where their kids are teenagers and then suddenly they don't listen. And they've got all these rules and all these perceptions that teenagers are difficult, that youth are difficult, that they're being aggressive, that they're being this, that they're not listening. And they've got to discipline them and I've got to make them experience the hard knocks. And it's the worst approach.
Wow.
We've got to step back. My advice that I give all parents, including myself and including all the years of work in this field, is you've got to listen. When you listen, then you will know how to help that teenage. And don't be scared to hear what they've got to say. Creating a safe space for a teen. What is the age group you work with?
Well, primarily this camp is like 12 to 18. But
okay.
We also have a lot of young adults who are
okay.
Leaders and people that serve within the ministries that we're casting this out to. So really your demographic, that 12 to 25, is really
is the demographic. Okay. And that's really a time where we've got to have safe spaces where they feel that they can talk. And if they ask you questions that make your eyes pop out your head, you've got to accept those questions, because it's not to limit their questioning and not to be shocked or judgmental in the answers, because they are looking and searching. And I mean, honestly, my kids tell me everything, and I have learned things that I didn't even know about. And in every generation, they'll tell you, what we learned odd in another generation is different every generation. But a safe space for kids to be able to be listened to non-judgmentally is absolutely vital, because if they don't get it out, it's going to go in. And if it's confusing information, that's what they build into their memory networks, into the thought trees in their brain. And then that guides the communication and the behavior. And that's an issue. That is really a negative issue.
So right now, what just happened is all these kids that are watching, all these young people are screaming at their parents to come over here.
Yeah. Please listen to me.
Come listen to Dr. Leaf. She said it.
Yeah, no, so true. Honestly, that's really the best thing you can do for your child is to listen, number one. The second thing is to teach them to think. Do not encourage a child to question.
Yeah.
Encourage they are doing it anyway. So either they're going to do it with you or they're going to do it with someone else.
Right.
And if they come up against what you believe is the way things should be, don't get angry and frustrated, because they're entitled to explore and develop and learn. And that's to hear their point of view, present yours, but let them have the option, because you present, not to say, oh, that's wrong, that's terrible, and judge them, because no one likes to feel judged. It attacks their value system and their identity. So it's let them explore, let them talk, let them get it out before you come with, you must do this, you must do that, you must feel this, you must feel that. It's get them to get it out. And I think I think that message will resonate with your age group. A lot of experience working with that age group for years and years and years.
You said something that really sparked a chord with me, because when you said if they don't have the opportunity to get things out, they're going to think it through anyways, or and they're going to bottle it up. And then you said it has negative repercussions. Like what? Help me understand that. Help us understand.
Okay, let me help you. Let me help you with some visuals. Can I use some visuals and the analogies that I know that they'll love? Okay, so here's a brain in a skull. That'll wake everyone up. Okay, so the big thing here is that you are not your brain. One of the first things that will help you understand this process of how you function as a human and how to manage the emotions being between the ages of 12 and 20 and 25 and all through the rest of your life is you need to know how to manage all these thoughts that are going on. Yeah. So you need to understand what is the brain, what is mind, and what are thoughts. And if you can get a handle on that, and I'll very simplistically explain that to you, it's a great start for helping to just navigate life. Okay, so you, first of all, you're not your brain, but you change your brain. So your brain you are not your brain. Your brain is separate from you. And what are you? You basically we can define as having a mind. So your uniqueness, the you-ness, you as Chad, you as whoever you are that are watching me now, your uniqueness is how you think about things, how you feel about things, and the choices that you make. And it's completely and utterly unique to you. No one thinks the thought that you've just thought now. It's completely designer. So you have a designer way of thinking, feeling, choosing, and you always thinking, always feeling, and always choosing. You can never stop doing it. Even when you die, you're still thinking, feeling, and choosing, but it's different. When you die, your brain does nothing. It's because what gets your brain doing anything is your thinking, feeling, and choosing. So when you wake up in the morning, you open your eyes, you start thinking, and as soon as you think, you feel. As soon as you think and feel, you choose. So those three always go together: think, feel, choose. And thinking, feeling, choosing is mind. So your mind is always in action. During the day, you think, feel, choose, and you to build a thought. So you think, feel, choose, build, think, feel, choose, build, think, feel, choose, build. You're consciously aware of it about every 10 seconds. But on a non-conscious level, which is where all your thoughts are, it's the biggest part of you, it's the 99% of you, it's massive, swirling, quantum, infinite, huge, where all your memories, which are inside thoughts, are. All of that non-conscious is basically influencing how you are functioning. Okay, so that non-conscious mind is so these think, feel, choose action that you consciously do is building these thoughts that are then stored in the non-conscious mind and in the brain. So it's kind of like you've got this non-conscious mind where it's in a quantum field. If you know anything about quantum physics, it's basically we live in gravitational fields. That's what keeps us sitting on. Kids will know about gravitational forces, but you also have energy fields inside your body. So we see that your memories are stored in the brain in the form of trees. They look like this. They literally look like this. And also in your body, in your cells of your body. They're stored in your brain in branches, all this information that you are thinking, feeling, and choosing about. So you think, feel, choose, and you grow branches. And those branches...
like memory files, like filing cabinets.
Literally, it's even more than a filing cabinet, because a filing cabinet implies that it's like there's no connection between the files. It's just these files in paper. This is a much more dynamic nature of a thought. So they can see each other. There's no division between every branch can see every other branch. So you think, feel, choose, and you build thoughts. So a thought is like a tree. So you think, feel, wake up in the morning and you think, feel, choose. You're listening to me now. As you're listening to me now at 400 billion actions per second, you are taking my words and you're thinking, feeling, and choosing them, and you're building them into thoughts in your brain. So you are pushing with your mind, your response to what I'm saying. You're taking my sound waves and you're thinking, feeling, and choosing, pushing them through your brain, and your brain is building protein trees. And so this is made of millions of proteins, and each little protein is like a little computer, a supercomputer, and it's vibrating with this information. So everything I'm saying now is becoming this, and you're doing it so fast, faster than the speed of light. Speed of light slow compared to how fast you're doing this. So you're changing the structure of your brain as you're listening to me. You're growing trees in your brain, and a tree is a thought. Okay, and if you look at a tree as a thought. And then you can see the tree's got all these branches. So the branches are the memories. So a thought is the tree and it contains memories. And so think of all the branches as all the information memories. And then the little leaves are the emotions attached to the information. So with every bit of information we learn, we grow a branch. So that's the information memory. But then there's also emotions. So the emotions are the leaves attached to the branches. So there's this information memory with all of its emotions, and there's another information memory with its emotions, and another one, and they're all connected, and they're moving, and they're talking, and they connect with other thoughts in the brain. And as you're thinking, and you think of, oh, this reminds you of that, it's different thoughts that are all connecting and communicating with each other. The beautiful thing is that they're never the same, and you can direct what these look like. You can literally design the architecture of your brain. You're like a brain surgeon. Without the blood, every time you think, which is all the time, you feel, which is all the time, you choose. And as soon as you do that, you build. So you can either build a healthy thought or you can build a toxic thought. So there's a toxic tree. Just see it for a toxic thought. So This is called what we call neuroplasticity. Neuro means brain, plastic means to change. So your brain is always changing, whether you like it or not, because you're always thinking and feeling and choosing. Okay, something's jumped up on my screen here. I just want to move it out the way. You're always thinking, feeling, and choosing. And because you're always thinking, feeling, and choosing, you're always building. And you can build a toxic thought or a good thought. So let's say someone says something to you, or someone posts something on Facebook, or makes a comment on an Instagram post, and it like gets you. It's like terrible. It just like gets you.
Right.
That's, you read it, which means you think, feel, choose. So as you read, that information comes through your eyes. You start thinking, feeling, and choosing with your mind. You push it through your brain, and you build it into a thought. Oh gosh, that person doesn't like me, or they're having such a great life and I've got a terrible life, or whatever it is. And you build it into your brain. So that's a toxic thought, and that actually causes brain damage, because your brain is not wired for toxicity. So what we've got is our brain provides us with this option. It's crazy. The brain provides us with this option. So if you build these, it kind of messes with all of your feelings. And because this is now branches, which is the information of all the things that would happen on Instagram, that person said, and what this and that led to that and that and that, and all these so this whole bunch of bad information and bad emotions and toxic emotions. Let me say toxic rather than bad. So this is in your memory. And now you maybe read, these are all memories inside these thought trees. Now this is in your non-conscious mind. And then you read something the next day and it pops up and you get another branch. And then the next day, and 3 weeks later, 6 weeks later, 9 weeks later, whatever, you've got this way of thinking about yourself, that this, whatever that information is, and it's affected how you feel about yourself. But this isn't who you are. This is who you have become. You've wired it in so you can wire it out. This thing is that we create it in such a way that our non-conscious mind, which is like our spirit, the mind is your spirit, literally. That's, if you want to think of it another way, this think, feel, choose mind is your spirit. This is the result of spiritual action. So thinking, feeling, and choosing is spiritual action. And this obviously is toxic action. So we used our spiritual ability to think, feel, and choose, and we responded in a way because we were hurt by those toxic words. But that hurt, then after a period of time, you start feeling depressed, or you're feeling anxious, because this isn't what is natural for your brain and your body. So to get this out, your body sends signals and your mind sends signals. And this memory, to answer your question earlier on, is in your brain, but it's also in every cell of your body. Wow. So here's a really cool fact. Your brain and your body are made up of 75 to 100 trillion cells. 75 to 100 trillion. So the memory of that Instagram toxic whatever, which is the toxic thought of that toxic Instagram whatever, with all of the information on the branches and all the emotions, which are the leaves, all this toxic thought mess with all this, could be 1,000 memories in this tree. One tree could have 1,000 memories, 10,000 memories, and those memories are emotional and informational. You also, though, stored in your body. So this thing sends a message to every cell of your body, and now it's also in your body, in every cell of your body. So we store memory in 3 places. So that is to help us to get rid of the memory. So when we have this toxic memory, how do we know it's there? Through emotions like depression, anxiety, frustration, irritation. Depression and anxiety are not mental illnesses. You are not mentally ill if you feel depressed. It's a very normal reaction. Let me normalize it and give you permission to feel depression. Depression, anxiety, schizophrenia, OCD, all these psychotic breaks, PTSD. These are all big words, but they're not they're not like a cancer or a diabetes. They're not an illness. What they are is a response, an adjective, a response, a signal that something's going on. So this toxic thing of this Instagram post has been going on for 9 weeks, and you're really feeling bad about yourself for however long, and this has thrown an imbalance in your body and your brain, because this thought's imbalance and your brain's not wired for this. Your body's not wired for this toxic message. It's in the cells. So your body starts telling you, so your heart palpitates and you're feeling tense, and you may be getting like heart pains or a lot of gut issues. Yeah, all that kind of stuff. So those are signals. When you start getting these repeated signals, that's your body telling you, hey, there's something going on. Then you feel maybe depression or anxiety. You celebrate that. And when I say celebrate that, it means that you embrace that, not because of the depression being something to celebrate, but you're celebrating what the depression is telling you. So depression's not it's not an illness. It's telling you you are feeling depression because something's going on. So you embrace that depression, you look in the face of the depression or the anxiety and you say, okay, I embrace this. Now, why do I feel like that? And you start seeing this toxic, okay, well, I've been looking at Instagram so much, I just feel so overwhelmed by whatever. And this person, I feel like my identity is crushed, or I feel like I'm not good enough, or I don't look good enough. And so suddenly now you see this Instagram thought, you start seeing that I don't feel good enough. I don't feel pretty enough. I feel useless. my life sucks, whatever. And you start seeing all these little, and then that makes me feel. So you can start, and as soon as you do that, this thing is weakened. Look how it's shaking. What we see from neuroscience, which is the study of the brain, is that as soon as you use your mind to pull up something from the non-conscious to the conscious mind, it weakens. And it is in the weakening that we get control. So depression is great. Anxiety is great. They're very useful. All those things are great because they're telling you there's something that needs to be fixed. If you suppress it and push it back down, it goes back even stronger than before, causing more damage, causing your cortisol levels to rise, your heart to be affected, inflammation in your body, your brain. I can even show you pictures of in your brain. This is an image of using technology of looking inside the brain. These are called brain maps or head maps. And if I hold it up close, you'll see that the top row is all blue. And this is a person who's extremely depressed, had a lot of early childhood trauma, a lot of traumatic relationships, just like really battling a millennial. And the blue shows that their brain is very low energy. The brain's not functioning like it should because the mind's a mess. So once we taught them mind management, and I've actually got an app, Chad, which is, you guys like technology. So I put all my stuff into an app called Switch.
I'm on it.
This app, which you can download, and it's super cheap at the moment. It's on sale. This is what we've been doing with Michelle for the last 21 days. Is this app is all my techniques in a very super simple app that you can just download on your phone. That app we gave to this particular person. I've got hundreds of these different things. And as we gave it to them, within 3 weeks, they got a gray brain. And that gray means the brain is getting normal. And the other colors show that they're thinking deeply and they're managing their depression. They're taking this, they've pulled it up. That's causing the depression, and they are finding why they're depressed, and they're dismantling this, and they are rewiring or reconceptualizing it into this. So by day 21, the gray brain shows that they remember, I used to feel like that about my identity. I used to feel I had no value. I used to feel that, but actually I'm now rewiring it into this. So you still remember your story, but it's being rewired. Right. So the gray brain means that I'm getting control of, I'm using the depression to help me fix myself. Right. And at day 63, which is 9 weeks later, and it takes 9 weeks to build a habit, not 3 weeks. By 9 weeks, the pattern's sustained, and that lot of green over there shows that this person's really got a lot of healing happening in their brain. That green wave there is energy, healing energy moving through the brain, healing the damage in the brain. And that's happening at around 9 weeks. And then this was sustained. I mean, this is the sort of thing that you can do when you manage your mind. So I know that's a lot of science, but I think it's like really important to understand that you drive the neuroplasticity of your brain. And when I talk about changing your brain, neuro means brain, plastic means to change. You can change your brain. So literally by embracing, processing, and reconceptualizing through 5 steps, 7 to 30 minutes a day, you can start dealing with those toxic traumas that are traumatizing you, things that have happened at school. And you as a teenager, there are a multitude of toxic traumas that you're experiencing. And at the moment with COVID and everything, there's even more. And this is a way you can learn to manage it.
Wow. So
I said so much. Sorry, Chad. I can talk a lot. I'm sure Michelle warned you.
I've been warned, but no, it's absolutely amazing because I've been in youth ministry for 20 plus years.
Wow. That's amazing.
Working with young people. And one of the biggest issues is, identity situations.
Yeah. It's huge. On top
of the head, because especially now with the rise of social media and, people feel like they can say what they want to say at any point, on your pages.
Bullying and
posts. Yeah. And it can be so toxic. And a lot of times I think what happens is young people don't realize that the people that are making these bad comments are unhappy themselves.
Exactly.
So they're
Exactly.
comments because they're coming from a toxic place of how they feel about themselves or whatever. But
Yeah, they're coming with a toxic tree and they're putting that toxicity on you. So you've got to protect yourself.
right. So how does, because a lot of like the bullying and there's young people that are listening right now that have been bullied. They've been talked about for being unique or different, um, you know, and it's starting to form and shape in their identity. So right now, what I hear you saying is they have the ability to take those thoughts and to take those toxic things, yes, and turn it. Young people, I need you to see this because you can see, like, what tree do you want your brain to be?
Exactly. This
You know?
causes brain damage.
Right.
And you don't want this to stay there.
Live with it, right, for the rest of your life.
If you keep it, it keeps growing stronger, but you can change it. That's the beauty of it. You don't have to keep it. It's
That's
up to you. You can change that. At any point, you can embrace it. I often use the example of Jesus in the garden, where is the perfect model. Jesus is the perfect model of mind management, absolute perfect model, because Jesus showed us that it is normal to feel all the emotions. Jesus experienced depression, anxiety, agitation, angst, you name it. Jesus experienced that in the garden because Jesus sweated blood. Now, I study the mind-brain connection. So I look at hormones and blood and DNA and everything in terms of when we're thinking in a toxic way, what is it doing to our body and our brain? And to sweat blood, you're in extreme anxiety. Your heart and your body and your hormones and so Jesus experienced that. And so the model is in Jesus that you need to embrace the pain that has caused you. You don't want to push that down. You want to get that out, because if you don't get it out, it goes in deeper into the unconscious mind. It embeds in those cells, it embeds in your brain, and it'll make you feel worse. Yeah. So by speaking, as hard as it is, find someone that you can speak to. Fortunately, you're part of Elevate. You have a forum where you can talk and get that out. It doesn't matter what it is. That's why I started this discussion with, we need to listen, because we need to listen non-judgmentally so that you can get this out and try and process this, because you're trying to make sense of life and it's really hard. So pulling this up and talking about it dismantles this. It weakens it. It's malleable. It's changeable. And then so that's the biggest thing. So the bullying, the toxic words, those are very, very, very hurtful. You might have 50 comments on your Instagram post and 10 are, most of them, 48 are great, but 2 are bad. Yeah. And you focus on those 2 and they throw you out. And the reason we focus on the negative is because it's so abnormal. We're wired for love. We literally, the scientists, Nobel Prize winning scientists, have found that all the parts of the brain and the body are wired for love. We're wired for these kind of trees. So when we experience toxicity from other people, like bullying, like cyberbullying, like the nasty words, cutting people out, ghosting people, not including them in things, making people feel bad about themselves. All those kind of value identity things are toxic trees, are experiences that you're having. They're very, very real. You've experienced something toxic and it's become this in your brain, but you can control this. You can pull this up. It's very hard. It's very painful. But you can do that. You can pull it up and you can work through and you can process that like Jesus did in the garden. And it'll get worse before it gets better. Jesus got beaten and then put on the cross. But then Jesus rose again. So the process is like that. We have to be brave to embrace. We have to be brave to process, which means work through. Process means I'm moving forward. Ruminate means I get stuck. Right. Okay, so I get in the garden and I've got to move through the garden. Jesus showed time happened. There was time where Jesus prayed, and then the soldiers came, and then so there was a progression that Jesus went through. So there's a time factor there. Also, Jesus turned to the disciples and said, hey, can you stay awake with me for about an hour? So in other words, we don't do this journey alone. So I can't carry your problem, nor can any therapist, nor can any parent, nor can any pastor. You can only carry your own issue, but you can have the support of each other. And the best support comes from each other. If you can learn to support each other, helping someone else going through a bad time increases your own healing by 68%. So you can boost your own healing by a massive factor. So it's moving forward, and then it's really hard. It'll make you cry. So cry, scream, shout, do whatever, say it, express it. But remember to say the following. Don't say, I am useless. Okay. Say, I feel useless because of. So don't say I am, because you're not, because you're wired for love. You're made in God's image. So we see scientifically that at your core, you're this brilliant, amazing human being, your entire brain and body. There's a model of a body on the back on the table behind me. I don't know if you can see it over there.
Yeah.
Can you see it over there?
Yeah.
There's a model of a body there. Your entire brain and body, you are wired for love. So at your core, you are perfect. I even have a book called The Perfect You. It's a great book. You should actually work. So we've got DVDs and workbooks. Great for your, and there's a whole profile that they can fill in to understand the perfect nature. That's it's all the science and everything behind that. I'll show you what it looks like. But this is a great course to do on your there's workbooks and there's DVDs and everything that you can do, and this teaches you to understand that at your core you're wired for love. So therefore what happens is you come, and you're made in God's image, so that makes sense. You come into the world wired for love, but then we have experiences, maybe bad experiences at home, maybe bad parenting, bad nurturing, bullying at school, all these things that happen, big stuff, little stuff, and that is all wired in on top of the other stuff. So the core of you is this perfect, beautiful, but we have these being wired on top. So we have, and that messes with the good stuff. So we have to do the painful work of pulling those up and working through them. And you direct that. It's directed neuroplasticity. You can learn to manage your mind, and we do it in, with us on your own, because you're not always with someone. So you've got to learn to manage your mind on your own, and you've got to learn to find an environment, learn to get it out of you. Because as a teenager and as a young adult, especially if you've had bad experiences, it's very hard to trust people. Yeah. And identity is massive in that. And so it's to find a safe space to talk. And once you start opening up, and once you start getting someone to listen to you, fortunately you're with Chad, so you can get that, you're in an environment where you can start doing that, then that'll start pulling these things up, and you can do something about them. We actually see in people that are, let me see if it's on this one over here. We actually can see when someone's identity is affected. It affects the front part of the brain. So this part of the brain here, directly above my eyebrows, when people's value and identity has been attacked, we see a very low energy there. So we see this in the subject over here. It's very evident here that there's this green over there at the front. It's a little bit gray over there, but that's just different waveforms. Look at this one over here. This person's identity is very bad because it's too green over there. We wanted it to improve. Okay, so it improves a lot over there. We see still a bit of an identity issue over here. So even though they're healing, they're still working on their identity. So it's an ongoing process. So when you get low energy, so we can see in the brain, if someone has lost their value system, or their value of themselves and their identity, the energy will drop low. But that can change. That can change. And it really is a process of looking at, why do I feel like this? Doing the work of pulling it up, processing it, and having a safe space to talk to people. That's where the app is fantastic, because you can learn to do this on your own. You could do it with someone, and to be part of youth camps like this, and part of what you offer, you're providing a safe space for people to get that out.
That's amazing. So Dr. Leaf, they can actually change the course of how they not just feel about their right now, but the course of their life. Because
absolutely,
I've done a lot of work for the last 18 years with professional athletes and entertainers and people like that, and adults just in church in general, but in their 50s, I even talk with my own family about certain things that are toxic in our adult years. I mean, I just turned 43 last week, and I'm literally still dealing with some things.
You will be the rest of your life. When you're 60, you're going to be dealing with stuff.
Or when I was a teenager, and I adopted some of those thoughts, and some of those feelings that were thrown on me. And I'm literally just now starting to be aware enough to process through them, and courageous enough to process through them.
Wonderful.
So I just want
you can get them to do it earlier. Yeah, that's the thing. Do it. You don't have to wait till you're in your 40s to start processing. You can do it now. You can get into that.
Tools.
It's a proactive lifestyle. Instead of being reactive, you become proactive. You take charge of your destiny. You create your next reality. You determine. This doesn't have to determine your future. What's happened in the past does not have to determine your future. You can get rid of toxic issues in your life. You can rewire it. They're in your brain, and you can get them out, and you do it with your mind. So you can change the structure of your brain. With your mind, you are actually changing the structure of your brain. And that's why I say you're doing brain surgery without the blood.
Right. And it's so, it's so powerful, because as adolescents, right, and as young adults, they're really still forming who they are, right? Like what is taking place in the
Absolutely.
brain?
Identity is massive.
It's a special time. Is it? I mean, I'm not a brain.
Yes, it is. It takes
Scientist.
25 years it actually takes 25 years for your brain to grow all the different parts and to sort of make all the correct connections and all the correct wiring and all the correct insulation in the wiring and get the hormones going properly and the biochemistry and so on. But it takes it, but that's just the basic formation. It doesn't mean that you stop growing. Your brain grows for the rest of your life. So you're always growing thoughts. And that's why mind management, which is essentially when I talk about using this app, when I talk about pulling this up and turning it into this, we're talking about capturing a thought and renewing the mind. That's what you're essentially doing. And that's what Jesus demonstrated in the garden. So nowhere in the Bible does it say you can't be depressed. You can, because depression is actually great because it's telling you a story. And if you embrace that depression, you can find the cause. So this is something you can direct for the rest of your life. You don't have to be scared of those emotions. If someone's told you, oh, there's something wrong with you because you feel anxiety, no, there's nothing wrong with you. You're being a human in a tough life, and it's really hard, and no one is an expert on your feelings except you. So no one can ever invalidate your feelings. If someone says to you, oh, that's not so bad, you just ignore them, because for them it may not be, because they don't understand your experience. But your experience for you is very real and needs to be validated. And that's vital, Chad, that parents and teachers and leaders validate. Never turn around to someone and say, hey, that's not so bad, it'll all work out. It's like the worst thing that you can say. You need to say, that's hard. I don't understand because I'm not in your shoes. I'm not an expert on your feelings, but that's really hard. How can I support you? How can I help you through this process? How can I be by your side? Like Jesus woke up the disciples and didn't say, give me Prozac, give me drugs, give me opioids, get me out of here, take my place. Jesus simply said, can you stay awake with me? And that's what we can do for each other. We can hold each other's hands while we do this process. But you've got the strength, the brilliance, the wisdom. Inside you is so much wisdom. Mm-hmm. And when you learn to tune into wisdom, even as a youth, as a young person, you're filled with wisdom, filled with it. And you just got to get in touch with that wisdom. And and this is a life. This is a lie. I'm 56. I'm still working on this stuff. Every single day for the rest of your life, you will be renewing your mind and capturing thoughts. It's not a one-off 21-day detox. It's a lifestyle of detoxing. Every day you should be spending around about 15 minutes, sometime in the morning, to detox. And then the rest of the day you basically manage your mind through the rest of the day through self-regulation. But this is for the rest of your life. Because there's always going to be something to work on, a bad habit, something someone says to you. Unfortunately, people are all a bit crazy. We're all crazy. So we're going to keep hurting each other. So we need to be strengthened up to know, okay, life is tough. People are crazy. They're going to hurt me. I'm going to have to forgive. How am I going to manage me in this crazy world?
Right.
And that's really a skill that you can learn.
Right. That's so powerful, Dr. Leaf. And we need to land this, because we could sit here and talk all day with, all this rich information, but I need young people to understand how amazing these tools are in your tool belt to be able to live your life effectively, healthy, and hold the good tree up again.
Yes, absolutely.
So that you look like that for the rest of your life. And right now, such a special time for you all to understand that. That these tools are given to you guys so you can take them, you can use them and apply them every day. And Dr. Leaf, isn't it amazing though that God's word teaches us that even, thousands of years ago, this stuff was implemented. I'm thinking of the Apostle Paul when he said, to renew your mind. Don't be conformed to the world, but be transformed by the renewing of your mind. And
renewing is the key word there, ING. It's a process. So to bring all thoughts and renewing. So this is a constant process. So you're born like this, but we have life experiences and we create this, but this is not your destiny. So these are going to keep coming, but you've got to manage them. So don't be afraid of these. Just say, okay, this is part of life. I'm going to manage them. Capture the thought, renew the mind, capture them. That's what this technique is teaching. It's the science. And also, Chad, what was very interesting is just to relate back to the people. I just did an interview earlier on, and they asked me, how can you reconcile being a Christian and a scientist? And my answer to them, I think you guys will be very interested to hear, is that God is the Godness. I talk about Godness because I don't think we should put God in a box. We mustn't make God small for us to understand. Godness is massive. It's infinite. God is infinite. So what I say is, if the Bible says God made everything. We know that. God is the source of everything. Okay. So that means God made how our brains work in our body. God made everything. So if I learn about my brain, that's knowledge. If you go to school, you're getting knowledge. If you go to university, every day you're getting knowledge. In other words, knowledge is science. Science actually means knowledge. Science comes from the word skura. Skura means knowledge. So science is God's knowledge. So science and spirituality are exactly the same thing. So if I never say a scripture, and I didn't actually say a scripture, I just kind of alluded to parts of scripture. But if I'm talking science, when I tell you about this, I'm talking scripture. I am talking spirituality because I'm talking about understanding the knowledge of God.
Yeah.
And specifically in my field, it's how to understand the brain and the mind. But it could be math. I study quantum physics, and that's part of my work. That's spiritual because it's God's knowledge. So knowledge, two sides of the coin. The Bible's the story. Science is how the story works. And this is a technique, a scientific technique that is totally spiritual that helps you get into a lifestyle of renewing the mind and capturing all thoughts. And learn it now, early.
It's so powerful. And Dr. Leaf, listen, guys, I don't know if you caught it, but Dr. Leaf is not just intelligent and spiritual and a Christian, but she's also cool. I heard her even say the word ghosting.
I know. I know what that means. Oh, that's great.
We just need to teach her some with drip and all that stuff. But you are absolutely a jewel and a gem to the body of Christ and to this world. And so we are so beyond honored to be able to have this information imparted to us. And we just appreciate you. I'm asking all of our guests just very briefly and quickly. Our camp theme is unity because our world needs unity now more than ever. And so just quick off the top of the dome, what is unity to you, Dr. Lee?
I'll answer that with a quantum physics statement, if I may. So quantum physics is the theory of thought. And with our mind, we are thinking, feeling, choosing, and building thoughts. So quantum physics, a specific branch called cubism, tells us that it's not about you, it's about you in the world. And that's what unity is. It's about you in the world. You're not alone. It's you in the world. You make an impact. You're important. You're important, and you in the world are important. And that's vital. So that's how I would answer that one.
You in the world.
Yeah, it's not about you, it's about you in the world. So both are important, but it's you in the world.
Yes.
And that's got a whole lot of quantum physics behind it, but that for me is unity. When we recognize that we enhance each other, it also leads to enhancement. And so when it's you in the world, then we're not in competition, we're in enhancement. Wow. And when your objective is to enhance others, you build healing into your brain. If you're jealous and competing with others, you build brain damage into your brain. So unity and enhancement builds healing into your brain. Wow. Competition and jealousy and envy and fighting and toxicity builds brain damage into your brain.
So when you have those emotions, you actually are causing brain damage.
You're damaging the brain. You're actually damaging the brain. So there's like little things over here in the brain that you see kind of cut out. It's damaging the brain. So as soon as you capture that thought and you rewire it, so as soon as you capture the thought and you rewire it through the process, you then are changed. You're fixing the brain damage. You're doing brain surgery. You literally go and undo the damage and you fix it. And we see that I use different types of brain technology, but we can see the brain getting fixed. So we can look in the brain and we can see as people manage their brain, like that person on that image that you showed you over here. That's a damaged brain. We use the more that over there is a healed brain. When you see more gray, and the more gray with the red colors, that's a healed brain. That's someone who's actually fixed their brain in 3 weeks and then 9 weeks later. And Chad, all of that, I don't know if you're interested, but if anyone is interested, this is on sale at the moment. It's half price. For 3 months, it's only $15. The app, so all these techniques, if they want to learn them, they're in this. And once they're part of this, we're building in so much functionality. We're building in a whole social media platform into this app. It's being built in at the moment. But the basic skills of how to use this are going into this. And there will be, as I said, all kinds of, even down to how to learn at school, down to someone said a toxic word for me, you'll be able to go onto your phone and just pull up the app and get some help. And if you're having a panic attack, put up and whatever. So at the moment, there's the basic 5 steps on how to detox your brain, how to take this and make it this,
Right.
And then there's other things being added all the time. There's a panic attack guide, and there's tons of other resources on there.
Amazing. Dr. Leaf, we're all going to do that, all right? All of us are going to get on the Switch app, and we're going to start creating good thoughts and changing our brain, all right? We're
Fantastic.
Going to start renewing our minds. How can we follow you? How can we access the information? Tell us a little bit about how we can.
Absolutely. Well, my webpage is drleaf.com. So just DRLEAF, literally a leaf, Dr. Leaf. And I married a leaf. I didn't make the name up. People have asked me, did I, because I talk about leaves. So drleaf.com. And then the Switch app is available. It's called Switch. The app's called Switch. It's available on iTunes and Google. Okay. And my Instagram handle is Dr. Caroline Leaf. So Dr. Caroline Leaf, and every day I put up stuff that'll help you there. I put up every day like little techniques on how to deal with difficult situations and panic attacks and toxic people and all kinds of stuff. So there's a lot of help on there, and also on Facebook. So all the social media platforms you'll find me on. So all my social media platform handles are Dr. Caroline Leaf, and then Dr. Leaf is the webpage where you can find everything, and you can find the Switch app at Google and iTunes.
I love it. It's so amazing, and I tell you what. We want you to be a part of our team. So
love that. I would love that. I'd be honored.
Part of the Elevate family team. So
I'd love that. I'd be very honored.
We love you guys, and we appreciate you so much, and can't wait to see you in person soon.
Yes, it'll be wonderful to meet you in person. Oh, that's going to be amazing. Well, enjoy the rest of the camp, and I hope this has helped you all.
So much. It's been great. Thank you,
My
Dr.
pleasure. Thank you so much.
God bless you.
Bye. Right. Bye-bye, everyone. Thank you.
Thank you.
Yo, I hope y'all really enjoy that breakout session, whichever one you chose to go to, and the EYL session with Dr. Caroline Leaf. Listen, one of the breakout sessions that really hit me, because I was actually privileged to teach it, was the ministry of reconciliation, how God wants to reconcile us to himself. He wants to bring us back into close proximity and relationship with him so that we can have relationship with others, and we are better together. Listen,
look,
this is so amazing.
I just have to be honest. Like, you know me, I'm not often speechless, but Dr. Caroline Leaf.
What?
The last portion.
Come on.
Of this breakout session, she just dropped the mic and just left. She said, people who are jealous and envious of you and speak badly about you, they are actually causing brain damage to themselves because they're holding that toxicity in.
Ooh.
So even if your Wi-Fi went out for the first like 3/4 of the breakout session, God still had a word for you in these streets, okay?
Yes, for real.
I can't imagine what's about to go down for the rest of camp, because this was crazy.
We just starting, y'all. Like, y'all better get that toxicity out. Stop that negative stinking thinking. That's what my dad used to say. Get that stinking thinking out of your mind.
Jesus, pull it out in these streets.
Yo, tell them how they can be a part of this camp experience.
Listen, y'all, it is imperative that you guys follow us on social media, Instagram specifically, right here. This link, you see this beautiful link? At Elevate INT. We are going to be going live, and that is where our icebreakers will be. We'll also be having live sessions throughout the day. And y'all, we have some dope prizes. And because Dr. Caroline Leaf said, don't be jealous or envious, I won't be envious of the prizes that y'all are about to get, because I have no stake in this.
Yo,
but it's going to be fire.
It's going to be so fire. Listen, you have to follow us, though, in order to partake of these prizes, in order to partake of the games and all this stuff. We're going to have special guest appearances by people that we're not going to tell y'all yet, but when you see it, you'll see it. But you got to follow us.
You have to. Okay?
Elevate INT. At Elevate INT. That's where we at, all right? So it's right there on the lower third. If I misquoted it, I don't think I did. But we want y'all to be with us, following us, because God is doing some amazing things in and through this generation, and we want y'all to be a part of it.
And we're so happy to let you guys know and remind you, you have not been forgotten about. We were doing everything in our power to make sure we reach you in the most trying times here at Elevate International.
That's right. UNITY. Throw your E's up.